This is a continuation of the first video. There was a knock at the door. Sorry for the interruption, and I forgot how to pause it. So, we'll just paste them together because I don't feel like saying all that again. So make sure you've watched the first video. Next time I know to push Shift and the F9 button. Okay, here we go. If the population of Fort Wayne is 256,496, and it's growing at 13% per year. Our starting value is always going to be our A value. That's pretty easy to figure out. So Y equals, and it's 256,496. There's going to be something in the parentheses, and that's going to take a little bit to figure out now that it doesn't say triple and double. Let's do that last. With the population in 12 years. So that 12 is going to be our exponent, the number of years. So this middle part is what we've got to figure out. There's two different ways of thinking through it. Remember how you can never, I'm going to do the way you'll see in Algebra 2 first, and then there's a way that some of you might find easier. I'll do that second. The first way to think about it is 1 plus, and they'll say your R value, but essentially what that is making your percent a decimal because we can never plug a percent in. Remember, we do it 2 to the left because it's like multiplying by 100. So 1 plus 0.13. And it's only plus because it said it was growing. Growing meant we're going to add. So we have 1 plus 0.13, so it'll be 1.13. And that is going to be what goes in the parentheses, or your B value. That's the amount it's growing. But there's another way to figure it out. This is what you'll see in Algebra 2. They'll do it in the decimals. But what might be easier for you to think about at the moment is it's growing. We currently have 100% of the people. We have all these people. We're just going to think about it as 100%. We're hoping to grow 13% more. So we add the 13 and we make it 113%. But the thing is, we can't plug a percent into equations. So we have to first make this number a decimal. Move the decimal 0.2 to the left and we get 1.13. So either way we do it, we'll get 1.13. I'll probably show this way because a lot of people find it easier. But if you're wanting to start preparing for Algebra 2, this is what you'll see. So again, we can plug it into our calculator. And if you don't have a calculator that does it all at once, you'll have to do 1.13 to the power of 12, enter, and then multiply by this number in front, your A value. But for most of you, you can just type it in, and that's perfectly fine with me. So that times 1.13 to the power of 12. And since we're talking about the population, we have people, we are going to round because we can't have a partial person. So we have, let's write down what our calculator says, and then we'll add the commas. Oh, since there's an 8 after the 7, let's round this 7 up to an 8 since it's 5 or bigger. Add our commas, so that means we're going to have 1,111,788 people. And make sure you add your variable, or your label. So people. Good, let's look at number 3. How much money would we have in the account after 28 years? That's your X. If your parents deposited $15,000 in the account, that's your A value because it's right now. That earned, so we'll be adding, earned 6.5% interest. Remember, that's kind of like your B value, but we're going to have to tweak it a bit. So we have Y equals, our starting value is the 1,500 times, and then something to the 28 years. Okay, we're going to tweak this B value, remember. So what might be best for you to do is change this percent to a decimal. And think about what you're going to do. This one we moved 2 to the left. We're still going to do this. So we have 6.5. We still have to move 2 to the left, which will give 0.065. So if you do it that way, you can have your 1 plus 0.065 equals, and you'll get 1.065. Or if you do it the percent way, think, oh, I want all that money. I want 100% of that 1,500. And then I'm going to add 6.5% to that, so it would be 100 and 6.5. But then you have to move your decimal twice to the left to get 1.065. Either way, that's going to be your answer. And then we type it in, 1,500 times 1.065 to the power of 28. So we have $8,747, and since it's money, we'll need a label, and we can go out 2 decimal places, so 43 cents. The reason we round up the 2 is because the number after it is 5 or bigger. It's a 5, so we round up the 2 to a 3. Okay, all of these examples so far, the numbers were getting bigger or they were growing. So let's flip to the back of this page and I'll show you what to do when they're not growing, which growing is growth, and this will be considered the decay examples, or they're going to be getting smaller. So for example, as soon as you buy a new car, the price goes down. So you bought a new car for $35,000. This is your starting value, or your A, and it depreciates. That means it goes down in value as soon as you drive it off the lot. It goes down in value by 20% every year, so we'll need that. How much will it be worth in 5 years? That's our X value. So we start plugging them in. Y equals AB to the X. Y equals 35,000 is your A value. Something will go there. And the 5 will go where your X would be. This is the last one. As long as I remember to not explain it both ways, I explain it a different way, because the Algebra 1 way of doing it, now it's going to be 1 minus this number as a decimal. We have to move it twice. That'll be 0.2 because it's going down in value, so that means we're going to have to subtract. So 1 minus 0.2 is actually going to give you 0.8. And that is a number that's going to go here. For those of you that like the percent way of thinking about it, think about you have 100% of the, it's worth 100% of the money at the moment. But it's going to go down by 20%. So that really, the next year it's only going to be worth 80%. But you can't put a percent in an equation, so you have to change that to a decimal by moving the decimal place to the left twice, and we'll get 0.8. You'll type it into your calculator the same way. So it'll be 35,000 times 0.8 to the power of 5, and it's going to get us $11,468.80. So even though it just has 1 decimal point, it's money. So we're going to make 2 decimal places by just adding a 0. Please make sure to add the $sign. We do label. And that's how we do that one. Last one. If your parents bought a house that was originally worth $180,000, that's our A value, and it grew in value, that means it's going to be addition this time. At a rate of 5% per year, how much would it be worth in 15 years? That's your X value. So we have Y equals 180,000 times something to the power of 15. Remember, if you just use a percent way, you want 100% of the money, and it's going to grow by 5%. So that's going to give you 105%. But you can't plug percents in. You have to move the decimal place twice to the left to get 1.05, and that's going to be your B value. So type it into your calculator. 180,000 times 1.05 to the power of 15. And Wow. It's going to be, with our dollar sign because it's money, $374,207. And remember, money, we go out to 2 decimal places, so 7 cents. It's a 2 after the 7, so we keep it a 7. We don't need to round that up. Good. Now you may begin your homework.